Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is our morning get-together live here on Facebook, where we examine news that come from local sources, state sources, national sources. We try to find out what's going on in the city that might be of interest to this community of ours, and we put it all together, hoping that we can, in turn, end up with a more fulfilling life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of well-informed English-speaking locals. It is a pleasure to get together with you. And today is August 10th. It's a Tuesday. And I'm going to propose that we lead in with an important question that I would like to bring up during the second half of the broadcast. It's a simple one, but it only applies to those of you that are actually here right now. And the question is, what restaurant, name one restaurant in town that you feel safe enjoying a meal at today, and why? One restaurant that you feel safe, and why do you feel safe at that restaurant? We do this to help support our restaurant community, and I'll explain why during the second half of the broadcast, but I think this will be an interesting point of discussion. So we will look at those answers in the second half of the broadcast. As always, we will look at all your comments then. If this is your first time here, well, we love interacting and we love saying hello to one another. So if you are new, please let us know that you are new in your comments, and we will be so very happy to give you a proper welcome. Also, if there's something really important that you wish to discuss or bring up during the broadcast, please let us know by adding the letter Q at the beginning of it. Meanwhile, while all the comments start accumulating, we will go through our news, which include the latest from our governor. Of course, he ended up having a broadcast yesterday after our broadcast was over. So he sent out a message. We're going to discuss what he shared with us. We have news about cruise ships. We have news about closures in town, places that are getting clausurado for pretending to be restaurants and they're not. And now we know for a fact that the world is ending, and we're going to tell you why. And of course, you know I'm being silly.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
It is. So before the end of the world comes to us, we're going to show you a trailer. Well, we're going to talk about a movie that we might as well go watch. If the end of the world is coming and things are just going to get ugly, you know, there's a new musical coming. What a better way to deal with the reality that is overwhelming us than to watch a new musical movie. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let us dive through the news. Then we dive through the weather, and we take it from there. Hang on. Okay, as we mentioned yesterday, Governor Alfaro had met with the State Health Board prior to our broadcast yesterday morning, and we were hoping for a new announcement from him, and the announcement did come through during the day, but he took to his Facebook page. As always, he shared a new video. And here's what he had to say. Number one, there will be no more closures, at least not this week. And this makes perfect sense to me. We must not forget that it takes 15 days for a new case of COVID-19 to show symptoms. And the most recent decision by the government to close bars for the entire month was made less than 15 days ago. So it makes little sense to introduce new guidelines or restrictions today when the period of incubation has not even given us the opportunity to find out if closing the bars worked at all or not. So if there are further restrictions, these will be revealed next week. Alfaro did say, the governor did say, and I quote, "We realize the importance of the strategy of anticipation that Jalisco has had, given the fact that 12 days prior to the increase of states in the red zone, we had already taken preventive measures by closing bars, something other states in Mexico are just getting around to doing." And number three, Governor Alfaro also said that there will be more preventive protocols at ports and airports, particularly here in Puerto Vallarta, where the arrival of cruise ships is imminent. We'll have more details about this just ahead. And if there were any restrictions announcements made, they were treated as and labeled as suggestions. For example, one member of Governor Alfaro's health board suggested that if you are of a certain age and suffer from a pre-existing condition, such as a heart or blood pressure condition, you should consider staying home. But these are just suggestions. Sound familiar? Well, it's the same kind of guidelines that were offered at the beginning of the pandemic. You know, if you are obese, if you have high blood pressure, if this, that, and the other, stay home. The only difference is that before they were actually calling them restrictions. You were not allowed to do things, and now they're just being called suggestions. But that said, you know, we already know that this is a good idea, so we don't necessarily need these new suggestions. Now, moving right along, there will be no further restrictions until there is an evaluation of the consequences of closing bars and nighttime venues. And this is likely to happen at the end of this week or beginning of next. But if you would like a reminder of the restrictions currently in place, this article that we're showing on the screen right now has the whole list. We've mentioned the restrictions before, so it's not necessary, I think, to mention them again. But more importantly, I think it's important to pay attention to your own gut feeling. You know, if you arrive at a venue that has too many people and it makes you feel uneasy, simply turn around and leave. And I'll have something to say about this in a little while once we get to the second half of the show. But the bottom line is we can either wait for the government to tell us what to do, or we can apply our own common sense. And I think those of us that get together here on a fairly frequent basis, we know what the restrictions are. So, you know, if you approach a situation that feels uncomfortable, simply turn around and leave and do whatever you have to do to take care of yourself. I would have wanted to show you an update of the weekly numbers released by the state of Jalisco, as we mentioned yesterday, but the numbers for this week haven't been published yet. What we do know, however, is the fact that Puerto Vallarta is now in fourth place when it comes to active COVID-19 cases in the state of Jalisco, with Guadalajara, Zapopan, and Tlaquepaque being the only locations in the state with more cases. Zapopan and Tlaquepaque, of course, are part of the Guadalajara metropolitan area, so for all intents and purposes, one could also say that Puerto Vallarta is now second in cases next to Guadalajara's metropolitan area. But that looks a little bit more frightening. They're not billing it as such. We also learned, of course, that there are presently no public hospitals in Puerto Vallarta with available ventilator beds. And we also learned that municipal inspectors continue to do their work, particularly during the weekends and at nighttime. And we found out that 6 bars with restaurants licenses were shut down this past weekend for pretending to serve food. Nice. All you have to do is put out a bowl of peanuts and you are a restaurant. We don't think so. And fortunately, the local government does not think so either. So it's comforting to know that the government is doing what they're supposed to do. And it's unsettling to think that at this stage of the game, there are bars that are still trying to pretend there's something they're not. Um, Another thing that Governor Alfaro mentioned more specifically yesterday is the fact that cruise ship passengers wishing to disembark in Puerto Vallarta will have to have proof of vaccination and a COVID test in order to be able to disembark in our city. According to this news report, cruise companies have already been contacted about this matter and they have approved the measure. And as a reminder, excuse me, the first cruise ship to return to our port with passengers since the pandemic began will be the Carnival Panorama, arriving on August 25th. That's a Wednesday, as they usually do. Meanwhile, Royal Caribbean has announced that they will not be scheduling arrivals until 2022. April of next year, for that matter. And by the way, apparently the nice folks at Vedanta will feature not one, but 3 different cruise ships navigating through Mexican coasts, apparently. Supposedly, at some point. Anyhow, let us dive into the weather now. But if you were late arriving this morning to the beginning of the broadcast, we have one question in the air, which we will take a look at after the remainder of the news items, which is, what restaurant do you feel safe catering to today here in Puerto Vallarta? If you are elsewhere, kindly refrain from answering. This is just a question strictly for locals. What restaurants, or name one restaurant that you feel safe at today and why? Let us first turn over to the weather and see what is going on with the clouds. The clouds and everything else. Let's see. Our weather says, would you feel less depressed about climate change if I told you I'm going to wipe out all life on Earth long before rising temperatures fry the planet? Well, now that's not very comforting, but that's what snarky carrot weather has to say today. We also know that it is 27 degrees right now, feels like 31. Humidity seems to be stuck at 85%. It's been there pretty much for the last few days. And our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 81. What can we expect for today? Rain in the evening and overnight with a high temperature of 32, low temperature of 24. Tomorrow, Wednesday, rain until morning, starting again in the evening with a high temperature of 32, low temperature of 24. Thursday, we'll have rain starting in the afternoon, a high temperature of 31, and a low temperature of 23. And that is our weather for today and the next few days. Moving right along, I have a little bit of show and tell that I wish to share with you because we can. What can I say? Yesterday I went into town. We live here in La Vena, which is next to Versalles, and I had a lunch date tomorrow with 2 dear local friends and a member of the cluster that I had the pleasure of meeting. And of course, I had to retrieve some Butterfingers, so that is a good reason to go into Emiliano Zapata. But I figured I would spread some joy, no pun intended, because I had lunch with my friend Joey, whatever. Anyhow, I decided to spread some joy, and because my dear friend Paul from Hotel Mercurio had already asked for one, I figured, well, Paul wants a necklace, so I had made him a necklace, which I proceeded to deliver at Hotel Mercurio. And then, of course, I got together with my friends Joey and Isaac for lunch, and with my new friend Dave from the cluster, David. And Joey said, "Oh my God, that's beautiful." And I said, "Oh, I just made it yesterday. Would you like it?" And he said, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, fine. You could have said yes." So then he said yes, and I gave him my new necklace, which I think looks quite lovely in him. On him? Prepositions. I'll never get those. Anyhow, Joey and Isaac suggested we get together at this place called Mi Café, which is a lovely coffee shop on the eastern end of Colonia Emiliano Zapata. I had not been there in a long time, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the renovations that they've done. Um, um, we had a wonderful lunch, and I figured I would take this photograph just to share with you. I also, since I was started my Emiliano Zapata journey on the Hotel Mercurio side, I also figured, well, I have to walk all the way to the other side of Emiliano Zapata, so we might as well do a walk. So yesterday I recorded my walk. We're gonna have a walking Wednesday tomorrow, and we will take a look at just the streets that I went through just to get a sense as to what has changed, what is new in Colonia Emiliano Zapata. Um, I want to tell you about this, and this is related to the question that I asked you earlier, because this is another headline that I thought was interesting. Apparently, Canirac, which is the National Restaurant Chamber, has started a program, and I have not heard about this being implemented in Puerto Vallarta. So, if Michael Buford is here, Michael, if you're here, I'm wondering if you have received any correspondence from Canirac to the effect that they started a nationwide campaign at the end of last month, suggesting that restaurants can and should offer discounts to dinner guests that show up with their vaccination certificate in order. Apparently, 70 restaurant brands representing 600 restaurants are already doing this throughout Mexico. Have you heard of such a thing locally? I haven't. And to be honest with you, I feel a little bit ambivalent about the measure, because I know that as a general rule, restaurants can work with very thin margins of profit. So to expect a restaurant to, on top of their narrow margins of profit, to have to offer a discount on top of that is not, it's easier said than done. So I'm not entirely sure that this would be successful here. So if there are any restaurant owners in the house that would like to comment on that, I would be interested in hearing whether they have been contacted by Canarac or not. But I figured, well, there's got to be a healthier, more positive way to do this. And this is why I asked you at the beginning of the broadcast, what restaurants do you feel comfortable enjoying today and why? And I figured if we name a few of these restaurants, we will, in our own way, have supported the restaurants by simply mentioning the ones that we trust and we recommend today, given how the pandemic is unfolding today. So that takes us to the end of our news. I'm saving one more headline for the very end, but let me take a quick look at your comments this morning just to see who's in the house and where everybody is reporting from. Bronica says it's nice to watch live. I think you guys must be packing, right? Getting ready for your trip down here. Let's see what else we have. Trucha Danzante says THC Tuesday taco. Yes, there will be no Taco Tuesday today, but we will get some Taco Tuesday action in the near future. Karen, I'm so very glad to hear that you took a look at the Tiny Desk concerts, and there were some good performances there. Yesterday, we shared Tiny Desk concerts with Mexican performers. You can take a look at yesterday's show notes if you'd like. Late but here from San Mateo, where the squirrels are building nests in my walnut tree. Christy, we love photos, so please send us some photographs if you can, so that we can see all the squirrel action you are enjoying. Let's see what else we have. There we go. Here's a recommendation, Coco's Kitchen, because it's out in the open. And one thing that I should add about the recommendation, let me go back to this. This image that I showed you earlier. Right now, Mi Café looks pretty empty, but I must confess, when I arrived to this lunch date, there were practically no empty tables, and I must say I felt a little bit uneasy, but that's just me. Again, some people may feel differently. Restaurants know that they should be working at a limited capacity, and some restaurants are better than others at following this guideline. So again, if I had to go back yesterday, let's say if one of the people that I was there to meet, that I was meeting oh God, I hold on. If we had all arrived at the same time at the restaurant, we had decided to eat, and we had walked inside, and I had seen the number of people sitting down at Mi Cafe, I may have said to my friends, hey guys, this is a little crowded. Do you want to go somewhere else? But that's just me. One of our friends was already there, so I figured I'm going to sit there. But again, it's a tricky thing lately with restaurants. So I'm very curious to see who else is recommending what. Christy recommends Vitea, although you're cheating, Christy, because I know you're not here right now. But I appreciate the remark. Denise, see, here's something interesting. Denise recommends Abulon. It's an all outside terrace, but I must confess that the last 2 or 3 times that I've been to Abulon, it's been right at lunchtime, Mexican lunchtime, and it's been almost packed, almost full. So I made a mental note to myself and a couple of friends, because I'd like to go to Avalon fairly frequently, Abulon, not Avalon, Abulon. And I said to myself, well, the next time I come, it's going to be during the week and at a time in which I know it's not peak lunchtime, because that's what I need right now. Let's see what else. Rhonda says, I feel safe at Langostinos on the beach, open fresh air, and tables are separated properly. Thank you. Colette recommends Langostinos again. And I stand by this one, Laura. Any restaurant owned by Michael Beaufort, that would be certainly one of my choices. The Siam cuisine here near my house is open. I mean, it has a hood. It has a roof, rather, but it is open air, meaning that there's not like a door. And the rest of his restaurants, his Mexican restaurant is also open. And the other two, Bravos and Siam in Emiliano Zapata, they're air conditioned, but I know that Michael has been very strict with his decisions and his protocols and so forth and so on. So I trust him entirely. Let's see. Siam and Fluvial, there you go. Tony recommends Cuates y Cuetes by the Beach Breeze. Jaime recommends Tia Rosas in Playa Grande. I've never been, but it's good to know that's what they're doing. Thank you very much for that. There's a recommendation for L'Angelo di Napoli. I'm not familiar with that restaurant. Another one for Langostino. Luis cuts to the chase and simply says outside. Let's see what else we have. Bistro on the Isla Cuale, seat by the Rio. Okay. The Red Onion on the beach. El Barracuda Open Air Beach. Thank you very much for all these wonderful recommendations. Coco's Kitchen, Bonito Kitchen. Let's see what else. The Seahorse Cocina. Not familiar with that. Ocho Tostadas by the stadium. I was just there a few days ago, and it was just absolutely wonderful. What else? What else? Divino Dante. In fact, I had a meal there yesterday and sat in one of the outdoor alcoves. Best food and so much open space. I would agree with that, Betsy Ann. Thank you very much for that. Linda asks, why are taco stands allowed to stay open? I lost count of how many people were milling around 2 stands between Cardenas and Carranza. 25 people plus. So bizarre. I don't know why taco stands are allowed to stay open, but I also don't know if there's a reason why they shouldn't. And here's a perfect example, Linda, when your own gut feeling and your own common sense should prevail. If you are thinking of going to a taco stand and you see that the taco stand is crowded, then you want to pick a different taco stand. I think that is quite simple. But no, I don't know exactly why taco stands are open or not. Again, if I approach a taco stand, and I love them, I go to them quite frequently, I just make sure that I don't go to the one that is so packed that I would feel uncomfortable. Um, La Playita at Lindomar, El Barracuda. Um, there you go. Another one for La Playita. Um, but then again, it's like La Playita at Lindomar, even though it's open air. Would I go to La Playita on a Sunday morning when I know that it's going to be packed with people? Probably not. Probably not. Uh, let's see what else. Where? Great branding, micro free margaritas. I love it. Michael, I'm so glad that you're here. I was asking if you had received any kind of information from Canarac indicating that you should consider promoting discounts for people that show up with their vaccine certificate and whether you had an opinion on the matter. Um, Joe Jack's Fish Shack. Uh, let's see what else we have. Love Me Cafe. I loved it too. I absolutely loved it, but I don't think I will show up at a crowded time again. And that's my personal choice. But their food was divine. Oh my God. And we had a wonderful breakfast. Michael says he has not received any mention of this new promotion from Canarac. But again, I don't know that I would feel I don't know that I would necessarily go to a restaurant simply because they're offering me a discount because I got vaccinated. I would go to a restaurant because I feel safe in the place and because I want to support my restaurant owning friends. But that's just me. Um, Beach restaurants are the only ones we feel totally safe. Sapphire, Green Chairs, La Carreta, to name a few. That said, we eat at many other places but do not feel completely safe. Tables are close together. We do not know how about the health of staff, and that is always concerning. Partner and I are fully vaccinated. John, I hear you. And a lot of times here, it has to be a personal choice that prevails. Um, but thank you very much for that feedback. Have you tried to access your certificate in the website yet? Actually, I haven't even tried because again, I'm not flying anywhere, so I don't necessarily need the certificate for anything. But but I will get it at some point. So if one eats a go-go boy in a dive bar, that doesn't turn it into a restaurant. Nice try, Matthew. Um, nice try, but what can I tell you? I haven't had a go-go boy for lunch in a long time, so I'm totally out of practice there. Um, Tony has an interesting point of view. Giving a discount for getting vaccinated is like giving our condo work staff a bonus for coming to work on time all month. That's funny. Let's see what else we have. Lots of commentary about restaurants, more endorsements for Michael's restaurants. This makes me happy. Uh, my opinion, I believe that restaurants should charge 30% extra to those with no vaccines. Actually, I I am yeah, but no, I mean, yes, but I would not want to get people in my restaurant if they haven't been vaccinated. But of course, we don't have that guideline here in Puerto Vallarta, so we're not even going to comment on that option. But restaurants should charge more for people that restaurants should charge 200 times more for people that show up without face mask, and that is a mandate. You're not supposed to go uh, into a restaurant without a face mask. Um, let's see. Uh, 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 um, is it the mivacuna.gov site? I looked yesterday but couldn't find anything that said I'd have a second vax. No, that's not the website, Brad. It is a different website, and I don't have it handy. The Mi Vacuna website is only to pre-register for vaccination. There's a separate website that is only to obtain the certificate. And again, I hope somebody will have it handy. I don't, um, but that's the reason why you're not finding information about your second vaccine. Boom, ba bum, 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 bim, boom. Brian Peter says River Cafe. Thank you. Um, Fiamma Open Air and following protocols. Yes, it is. This is a pizza place that I have yet to get to see here in Colonia Versalles. Um, Hi, Charlotte. Mi vida. Why are some bars open? Have they started selling food all of a sudden? That's the question of the millennium. Uh, it's why are some bars open? Great question. When they shouldn't. And yes, some of them just started selling food all of a sudden. Don't get me started. Um, let's see. Um, Jorge, you're not even here. What are you talking about? This question is just for locals. Today, locals being in Puerto Vallarta today. What bars got closed? Asks Lisa. We never find out that information unless we find out from the owners themselves. That information is seldom published by the newspapers. Let's see what else. Mikasa is best snarky chef with limited culinary skills, but always feels safe. Well, of course, one can eat at home and feel perfectly safe. Thank you very much, John. This is the website where you get the certificate. It starts different. It starts with CV COVID, and that is not the same one as Mi Vacuna. So this is the one that you get the certificate at. Let me put it up on the screen one more time. Uh, let's see what else we have. Uh, Naughty, naughty, naughty. Maybe someday in the near future, but not right now, Carlos. I'm not playing vaccination games with any boys out there or girls or anything. Let's see. Well, that I think we are at the end of our show. Not without sharing one final. Okay, this is fake news. Well, it is and it isn't. But, given the fact that a member of the English royal family is now being sued for sexual abuse, we now know for a fact that the world is coming to an end. So we might as well watch the new Cinderella musical coming to Amazon next month before the world ends. It features Idina Menzel, or as John Travolta says, it also features Minnie Driver, Billy Porter, and Pierce Brosnan. I'm going to leave you with the trailer for it so that you can watch it. And I figured, if things are just so fucked up and crazy in the world, we might as well sing songs from musicals. If you don't know how to sing, even better. And that's the end of our broadcast for today. Thank you for being here, all 134 of you. You make my morning. And thank you so much for doing what I know you are doing to stay safe. And thank you for doing wonderful things and um, gifting kindness to other people and doing kind acts with friends and loved ones. That is bound to make us feel better. And thank you for coming back over and over to Coffee and Headlines. It is always appreciated. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we will walk. We will walk through Emiliano Zapata. I was surprised to see new buildings that seem to have come out of nowhere. I was surprised to see businesses that were closed during regular opening hours. That's sad. So I'll just take you around and show you what I saw as I walked from Hotel Mercurio to Mi Cafe. So stay happy, stay kind, support local restaurants as much as your comfort level allows, and stay healthy, stay in touch. Come back soon.